Victor Osimhen to Manchester United, Paul Pogba'S new club, and Chiesa heading back to Italy. Plus, Neymar's gearing up for a sensational return to Santos, and what's the real story with Mbappé? We're covering all that and more in today's episode. Are you ready? Alright, let's get started. It seems things aren't quite rosy for Kylian Mbappé at Real Madrid. Who would have thought? He's a superstar. He was supposed to be tearing up the pitch, but instead, he stalled. The fans are in shock, of course, and the critics are having a field day, piling on from all sides. They're saying he hasn't lived up to expectations, he's not scoring like he used to, and generally isn't cutting it as the leader of Real Madrid attack. But a friend in need is a friend indeed. Didier Deschamps, the French national team coach, has come to Mbappe's defense. Kylian is going through a difficult situation, Deschamps admits, but immediately adds, that doesn't negate what he's done. Past achievements don't simply disappear. Deschamps is confident that Mbappé will soon rediscover his best form. I have no reason to think otherwise, he stated. Well, we'll see. Personally, I have my doubts. It's not like he was dropped from the national team for no reason, right? Although Deschamps is making excuses, blaming social media's negative influence. Sure. Speaking of the national team, many were surprised by Mbappe's absence from the nation's league squad. Deschamps mumbled something vague in response to journalists' questions, but the fact remains. Kylian isn't in top form right now. And remember the fanfare surrounding his arrival at the Santiago Bernabeu? Everyone expected fireworks, but instead, a fizzle. So what's the problem? Perhaps Ancelotti isn't using him correctly. Instead of deploying him on the left wing, where Mbappé is in his element, the Real Madrid coach has stationed him centrally. While Mbappé does play centrally for the national team, something feels different. He can play in several positions, and then it's a question of combinations. You can say I'm crazy to play him as a central striker, but he played as a central striker for his last two coaches, Deschamps argues. The situation is tricky, to say the least. What happens next is anyone's guess. Personally, I think Real Madrid simply bought into the big name. They needed a player who sells shirts, not necessarily one who delivers victories. Time will tell. Maybe Mbappé will still come good, maybe not. It looks like we're in for a major comeback story. The latest news suggests Neymar is poised to leave Saudi Arabia and return to his boyhood club, Santos. Remember, that's where his dazzling career began before he set off to conquer Europe. It appears everything is pointing towards Neymar's contract with Al Hilal being terminated. Journalist Cesar Luis Merlo is reporting that negotiations are well underway. And just recently, Neymar was earning a king's ransom in Saudi Arabia, around £138 million a year. That's the third highest salary in the league, behind only Ronaldo and Benzema. But as they say, money isn't everything when your heart yearns for home. Let's rewind. Neymar joined Al Hilal in 2023, but his time in Saudi Arabia hasn't exactly been a fairy tale. Persistent injuries, a mere 7 appearances, 1 goal, and 3 assists. It's hard to call his performances a success. Furthermore, a recent injury has sidelined him for another 4 to 6 weeks. Speaking of injuries, over the past 10 years, Neymar has spent over 1,000 days on the sidelines. Just imagine, he's missed more than 200 matches due to health problems. This, of course, impacts his reputation and raises questions about his future. After all, Neymar is no longer 20. It's time to prioritize his health. So, it seems Al Hilal is ready to part ways with their star signing, and Santos, in turn, is eager to welcome back their academy graduate. Neymar played 225 matches for Santos before leaving for Barcelona. It seems nostalgia has won out. According to the latest reports, the two sides have already reached an agreement. Of course, these are still rumors, but they're persistent. The word is that terminating his contract with Al Hilal is just a matter of time. However, even if everything is finalized, Neymar won't be able to play for Santos until January 2025. But those are just details. The main thing is his return home. What's next? I expect we'll hear official news about Neymar's future soon. And hopefully, we'll see him back on Brazilian pitches because, despite all his challenges, he remains one of the most exciting footballers of our time. Do you think Neymar can successfully reboot his career at Santos? Manchester United are once again engaging in what appears to be a complex and rather cunning maneuver in the transfer market. It seems they're contemplating offloading Joshua Zirkzee to Napoli in a bid to secure the services of Victor Osimhen. Ambitious, to say the least, wouldn't you agree? Let's break this down step by step. Zirkzee, who was brought to Old Trafford with much fanfare from Bologna just 6 months ago, hasn't exactly set the Premier League alight. A solitary goal in 17 appearances is frankly underwhelming. Now, with new manager Ruben Amorim at the helm, United have decided it's time for a shake-up. And where better to start than the attacking line? Enter Victor Osimhen. The Nigerian striker is currently tearing it up in Turkey with Galatasaray, finding the back of the net with impressive regularity. 8 goals and 4 assists in 9 matches, a stat line that's hard to ignore, right? United, it seems, have taken notice and are thinking, let's bring him to Manchester. However, it's not quite that simple. Osimhen reportedly comes with a hefty €75 million price tag. Not exactly pocket change, is it? United, seemingly keen to cut costs, are proposing a player plus cash deal to Napoli. The idea is to send Zirkzee, who is rumoured to be a player Antonio Conte, Napoli's new manager, is keen on, along with €30 million. It's hard to say how Napoli will react to this proposition. On one hand, Zirkzee is a young, potentially talented player, and Conte is known for his ability to unlock a player's potential. On the other hand, who in their right mind would turn down €75 million in cold hard cash? Then there's Osimhen's salary to consider, a cool €11 million per season. United will need to loosen their purse strings if they're serious about securing his signature. This begs the question, is he worth it? Osimhen is undoubtedly a top-class striker, but €75 million is a significant investment. Moreover, United face stiff competition for his signature, with Arsenal and Chelsea also lurking in the wings. Initially, United had their sights set on Victor Osimhen from Sporting, hoping to reunite him with Amorim. However, that deal fell through. Now, their focus has shifted to Osimhen, but Galatasaray are reluctant to let him go before the summer, and deals of this magnitude are rarely concluded in the January transfer window. From a United fan's perspective, signing Osimhen is a dream scenario. Imagine Rashford, Fernandes and Osimhen forming a formidable attacking trident. It's a mouth-watering prospect. But does the club have the financial muscle to pull it off? And will they have to sacrifice other areas of the squad to fund this transfer? Personally, I believe United are taking a significant risk. On one hand, Osimhen could be the missing piece of the puzzle, transforming them into genuine title contenders. On the other hand, if the deal collapses, it will be a major blow to the club's reputation and Amorim's plans. All in all, it's a complex and intriguing situation. Can United pull off this intricate transfer strategy? Will they succeed in convincing Napoli and Galatasaray? And will Osimhen justify the substantial investment? Only time will tell. But, as they say, stay tuned for further developments. It seems Federico Chiesa's English adventure is turning out to be remarkably short-lived. Remember how everyone expected him to set Liverpool alight this summer? Well, things haven't quite gone to plan. A mere 78 minutes on the pitch across 3 matches is hardly the return anyone anticipated. Not Chiesa himself, not the fans, and certainly not Arne Slot. And at just 27, he should be in his prime, playing regularly and making a name for himself. To understand why there's talk of Chiesa returning to Italy, let's rewind. Federico is a Fiorentina academy product, where he first burst onto the scene. Then came a move to Juventus, where he had his moments, but unfortunately, injuries hampered his progress to the very top. This summer, Liverpool seemed like a fresh start, a new challenge, but something went wrong. Now, Fichajes reports that Fiorentina are seriously considering bringing their prodigal son home. It sounds romantic, but how realistic is it? Chiesa joined Liverpool as a highly promising player, and the Reds invested heavily in him. A salary of £150,000 a week is no small matter. However, it appears the club isn't holding on to him too tightly if they're willing to let him go in January. They've seemingly decided not to keep spending that kind of money on a player who isn't contributing. On the other hand, Fiorentina could really use Chiesa right now. They need to bolster their attack, and Federico could be the spark they need, adding creativity and a cutting edge. And the Fiorentina fans, I'm sure, would be ecstatic to welcome back their homegrown hero. Chiesa is more than just a footballer to them, he's a club symbol, someone who grew up before their eyes. Of course, other Italian clubs might be interested, but Fiorentina seems like the most logical destination. He knows the system, he has the fans' support, and he's likely eager to return to familiar surroundings. Adapting to a new country and league is always stressful, and it seems Chiesa never truly settled in England. What do you think? Can Chiesa reignite his career at Fiorentina, or should he seek his fortune elsewhere? Personally, I believe returning to Italy is his best option. Both Fiorentina and Chiesa would benefit from this transfer. As for Liverpool without Chiesa, that's another story altogether. Frankly, it seems Liverpool won't even notice his absence. Sometimes a player just doesn't fit in. The important thing is that Federico doesn't give up and keeps believing in himself. Remember Paul Pogba, the one who shone at Juventus, then moved to Manchester United for a record-breaking fee, even managed to win a World Cup, and then, well, you know the story. His career seems to be a roller coaster of soaring highs and dramatic falls. After a much-anticipated return to Juventus in 2022, where he once thrived, we saw only a shadow of his former brilliance, a mere 12 matches in 2 seasons, plagued by injuries, scandals, and ultimately a doping ban. Now, his contract has been terminated, and the clouds over the Frenchman's career have darkened considerably. Just when it seemed like the end, a surprising twist. Pogba is reportedly attracting interest from 2 Premier League clubs, Newcastle United and West Ham. Seriously? Haven't they seen what's been happening in recent years? Though, wait a minute. His talent hasn't vanished. Both clubs apparently believe that Pogba is still capable of delivering high class and quality. That's a bold statement, to say the least. Yes, undoubtedly, in his prime, Pogba was one of the world's best midfielders. But now, after all the injuries and controversies, how ready is he to return to his former level? Interestingly, there's talk of Pogba potentially returning to Manchester United, not to sign a contract, but simply to train and regain fitness before seeking a new club. This is a curious development, considering he's repeatedly expressed his disillusionment with life at Old Trafford. Remember his strained relationship with Jose Mourinho and his admissions of wanting to leave after just 1 season. Yet it seems United are willing to let bygones be bygones and assist their academy graduate. What about Newcastle and West Ham? Both teams are currently struggling, to put it mildly. The Magpies have slipped to 8th place after a stellar previous season, while the Hammers are languishing in mid-table. Could Pogba be the spark that reignites their winning form? However, this is a significant gamble. Pogba is far from the player he once was. As one pundit astutely observed, winning the World Cup may have inadvertently led him to relax and rest on his laurels. Midfield is a position that demands unwavering dedication and constant effort. Mourinho famously called Pogba a virus due to his perceived laziness. Harsh, perhaps, but there might have been a grain of truth to it. The intrigue is certainly building. Can Pogba revive his career in the Premier League? Personally, I'm skeptical, but who knows? Maybe a 3rd stint in England will be his lucky charm. Time will tell. We'll see which club is willing to take a chance on this controversial yet undeniably talented footballer. Financial considerations will undoubtedly play a crucial role, as Pogba will likely seek to maintain his high salary. It'll be interesting to see how much clubs are prepared to pay, given the risks involved. I suspect this story has many more twists and turns in store. The challenging journey of young prodigies. Remember how just a couple of years ago, Ansu Fati was hailed as the new Messi? The kid was dazzling, scoring goals, seemingly on the verge of breaking into the world's elite. But alas, injuries have seemingly derailed his career. And now, under the guidance of Hansi Flick, Fati's situation has become, to put it mildly, a dead end. Flick, of course, deserves credit. He's revitalized the team and found a role for everyone. But for Ansu, there seems to be no place in the starting lineup. Rafinha and Yamal are on fire, and the 22-year-old Spaniard needs consistent playing time to regain his form. But where will he get that at Barcelona? It's a rhetorical question, really. Rumor has it that Sevilla are seriously targeting Fati. It makes sense, as Sevilla desperately need fresh blood in their attack, and the player himself, I believe, wouldn't mind a change of scenery. Perhaps he'll rediscover his confidence and the goals will start flowing again. Fenerbahce are also reportedly interested, but Sevilla seems like a more logical option for his career progression. After all, it's La Liga, a familiar environment. Ideally, Barcelona should loan Fati out. The lad needs playing time. He needs to get a taste of regular action. When he's on the pitch, his intelligence is evident, but his confidence in front of goal is clearly lacking. And his latest injury seems to have set him back even further. That's the last thing a young player needs. You know, I think all managers recognize that Fati is still an immense talent. He just needs a chance, and in this regard, a move to Sevilla could be his salvation. They're ready to offer him a key role, providing the platform for his resurgence. Sevilla are known for their ability to revive players, so perhaps this is exactly what Ansu needs. Of course, the financial details haven't been disclosed yet, but given Barcelona's precarious financial situation, it's likely to be either a loan deal or a relatively modest transfer fee. Either way, it's a win-win for all parties involved. Well, time will tell how things unfold, but in my opinion, Sevilla is an excellent option for Fati. It's a chance to reboot his career and prove to everyone that he's still capable of great things. What do you think? Can he return to his former level? I believe he can. Just when the rumours of Guardiola's move to Brazil were gaining momentum, a twist. Pep seems to be staying put in Manchester. According to recent reports, the Catalan mastermind has agreed with the city hierarchy to extend his contract for another season, until the summer of 2026. On the surface, everyone should be happy. But hold on, there's more to this story than meets the eye. Remember all the talk about the Brazilian national team? Well, it turns out Guardiola might have some plans brewing for 2026. Apparently, the future president of the Brazilian Football Confederation, none other than Ronaldo himself, yes, that Ronaldo, wants Pep as the national team's head coach. They're actually old friends, dating back to their time together at Barcelona, and Guardiola's brother even worked with Ronaldo, so the connections are strong. But let's get back to Manchester City. The team is currently going through a rough patch, 4 consecutive defeats, something unprecedented during Guardiola's tenure. They're now 5 points behind Liverpool, a far cry from championship form, to say the least. Could this be the reason Pep decided to stay? To try and rectify the situation, to prove he's still got what it takes? The financial details of the new contract haven't been disclosed yet, but I doubt Guardiola is complaining. He's currently earning €20 million a year, making him the highest paid manager in the Premier League. It's unlikely the terms would worsen. In fact, they might even improve. Who knows? However, personally, I suspect this contract extension is a bit of a smokescreen. Pep is undoubtedly a professional and will give his all, but the Brazilian adventure is clearly on his mind. What a challenge it would be, to test himself at the international level, and in a footballing nation like Brazil, no less. Isn't that every manager's dream? Besides, who knows what will happen to Manchester City in a year? Perhaps the team will undergo a major overhaul. Perhaps Guardiola will simply grow tired of the same routine. And then, Brazil will be looming on the horizon. I'm inclined to believe that Guardiola is just buying time. He needs to make a decision, but he doesn't want to burn any bridges. That's why he signed a short-term contract. He'll see how things develop. So, the intrigue remains. We'll have to wait and see how this unfolds. But I wouldn't rule out the possibility of seeing Guardiola at the helm of the Brazilian national team in a year and a half. What do you think? Do you believe Pep will stay at Manchester City for the long haul, or is this just a tactical maneuver? Only time will tell. The Red Devils are reportedly targeting Leon Goretzka from Bayern Munich. But the real question is, do they actually need him? Picture this. The team is languishing in 13th place. Ruben Amorim has just arrived and is desperately trying to steady the ship. And suddenly, there's talk of signing a 29-year-old midfielder who's hardly been shining at Bayern. On one hand, yes, experience, leadership, all that good stuff is needed. On the other hand, won't this just be a repeat of the Casemiro situation? He was supposedly brought in to strengthen the squad, and now rumours are swirling about his potential sale. It reeks of panic, to be honest. United are frantically searching for someone to plug the holes in their midfield, and Goretzka seems like an option, but a risky one. Firstly, the guy is clearly out of form. At Bayern, under Vincent Kompany, he's warming the bench, coming on as a substitute at best. Secondly, the English Premier League is a different beast compared to the Bundesliga. The pace is faster, the intensity higher. Can Goretzka cope? That's a big question mark. Let's be real. Bayern wouldn't just offload a valuable player for no reason. They're not known for offering players to other clubs. If they're willing to part ways with Goretzka, something's amiss. Maybe it's fitness issues, maybe it's motivation, or maybe he just doesn't click with the new manager. And this is where United need to think twice. Are they prepared to take a gamble and invest in a player who might have already peaked? Sure, the price will likely be reduced given Goretzka's current situation. but they'll still have to pay him a hefty salary, and that's another highly paid veteran in the squad, just like Casemiro. Again, is it worth it? Of course, one could argue that Goretzka's experience and leadership could be beneficial, but in my opinion, United should be looking towards the future, not clinging to the past. They need young, ambitious players who are willing to put in the hard yards. Goretzka, I fear, might just be a temporary fix, a band-aid solution. I wonder what Amorim thinks about all this. Does he genuinely believe Goretzka is the player to pull the team out of this crisis? Or is he just a stopgap until they find someone better? Either way, this story will be interesting to follow. Let's see how this transfer saga unfolds. Perhaps United will manage to revive Goretzka's career, or maybe he'll just become another in a long line of the club's transfer missteps.